Lecture Week 6, The Tokyo War Crimes Trials, a case study, Iwane Matsui, the Nanking Massacre, and Command Responsibility. Dr. E.L. DeVille, History 274. Before we begin, we should consider the essential questions and objectives related to this case study and your discussion posts for this week. How should individuals, groups, or nations be held accountable for war crimes and atrocities? Who is ultimately responsible, the soldiers who commit such violence or those who command? Is the failure to prevent or take action to stop a war crime as egregious as participating in or encouraging one? Is the prosecution of war criminals by the victors inherently biased and flawed? According to 18th century French philosopher Voltaire, those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. In this lecture, we will first explore the absurdities. In this case, the militarism, ultranationalism, and racism that influenced the 6-week rampage of rape, murder, and destruction that took place in Nanking from December 1937 to February 1938. Second, we will narrow our focus to one of the specific Tokyo war crimes trials conducted between 1946 and 49. We will consider the decisions made in the trial of Iwane Matsui, commander of the Japanese forces at Nanking, and opinions related to the limitations of the legal proceedings that still resonate today. As one historian noted, we must look back in order to look forward. In order to place Nanking in the trial in historical context, we should consider several important points about Japan and the Second Sino-Japanese War. First, the rapid growth in industry and modernization in Japan led to the need for raw materials and resources and created significant population growth. Militarists and ultranationalists in Japan's government aimed at liberating Southeast Asia from Western imperialism and reducing the need for food sources and raw materials, advocated for territorial expansion into China. The Japanese also believed themselves to be descendants of a superior people destined to dominate Asia. But in order to do so, they had to first eliminate the perceived threat of a unified China. As a result of these conditions, in 1931, Japan's military took advantage of China's unstable political situation as nationalists and communists vied for hegemony, occupying Manchuria in the north. By August 1937, minor skirmishes had escalated into war as Japan attacked Shanghai. On December 8th, as the Japanese Imperial Army marched towards the nationalist capital of Nanking, Chiang Kai-shek's government fled. General Iwane Matsui, then 68, had been brought out of retirement to command the Central China Area Army. He had pushed for the capture of Nanking, but a bout of malaria kept him bedridden, so he did not enter the city until December 17th. Therefore, Prince Asaka led the Shanghai Expeditionary Army into Nanking during the first wave of atrocities, when most of the massacres occurred. Prolonged fighting and fierce Chinese resistance may have impacted the extent of the brutality unleashed on citizens. However, Japanese command did not issue explicit orders as to conduct, so soldiers unleashed a torrent of wanton rape, murder, looting, and arson with impunity. An estimated 20,000 women were raped, and 300,000 Chinese civilians and unarmed military were murdered in scenes of unimaginable horror. Moving forward to the Japanese defeat, in January 1946, the International Military Tribunal Far East was established by General MacArthur. The trial of Iwane Matsui is significant since he was condemned under command responsibility theory, a major revision of international law introduced at the IMTFE. The attack on Nanking was written into the Tokyo indictment as both a Count 45 category murder and a Count 55 category criminal liability for permitting atrocities, because as a leader, Matsui had failed to take action. The evidence at the trial did not reveal his direct responsibility for the atrocities, but weighed heavily against him was the charge that he had tacitly allowed his soldiers to run amok or done nothing to discipline their conduct. Matsui's defense strategy was twofold, vacillating between the claim that he knew nothing and that he knew something, but he was unable to act or investigate since he was not officially ordered to do so. His diary, however, proved that he did know of some problems, and he had in fact chastised Prince Asaka for the army's lack of restraint. The majority opinion found him guilty of having failed to abate these horrors. They believed that even though he had issued orders regarding troop conduct, he had to have known that those orders had been ignored. Therefore, he was convicted not on commission of war crimes, but for his failure to act, and he was executed on December 23, 1948. Judge Radhabinod Pal's lone dissenting opinion highlighted what he felt were serious flaws, not only in Matsui's trial, but also in the tribunal proceedings themselves. He objected to having judges from the victor nations on the bench, stating that one thing the victor cannot give to the vanquished is justice. Since only 3 of the 11 judges were Asian, he also felt the proceedings were racially biased, a white man's tribunal. Pal did not deny that atrocities had occurred in Nanking, but he believed that a military leader could not be prosecuted for what soldiers had done, nor could the leader control troops in the field at all times. Moreover, Matsui's failure was related to the much larger failure of Japan's military as a whole, and not solely his responsibility. The decisions at the IMTFE trials continue to create controversy in Japan today. In 1978, Matsui and the 7 other war criminals executed by the IMTFE were honored in a secret ceremony at the Yasukuni Shrine, a memorial to Japan's war dead and a rallying point for nationalists. In 2005, a monument to Judge Pal was erected at the base of the Yasukuni Shrine. Both serve as symbols in Japan of the great window of memory through which present and future generations reinterpret the war years and challenge the decisions that were made by the tribunal. Was Matsui's trial fair? Was justice served? Some historians feel that he was guilty, and by pushing his subordinates to take Nanking before they had time to reorganize, he helped to create the chaotic atmosphere that led to the atrocities. Others agree with Pal's dissent and feel Matsui was the victim of bias. The command responsibility doctrine that condemned Matsui still stands today and was used in the 1969 My Lai massacre trial and in the 1993 War Crimes Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. As stated in the Journal for International Law, the command responsibility doctrine must remain flexible, as the nature of warfare inevitably changes over time. Furthermore, as Justice Pal argued, even justice in matters of war crimes is not possible without universal jurisdiction. Hopefully, the current establishment of the United Nations International Criminal Court will adhere to Pal's high procedural standards and prove him right. Thank you.